Hello magical hands, welcome back to another sewing tutorial. In today's video I'll be showing you guys how to sew a ruched skirt without the drawstrings by the sides. You can see how beautiful this skirt looks, and of course it is giving what it is supposed to give. Well, if you want to stick around to know more about this tutorial, don't forget to subscribe. If it's your first time here, thank you for joining this family, and if you're a returning subscriber, thank you for always coming back. Now if you also want the tutorial for the top, I will be linking that in the description as well. So without any further ado, let's get into the video proper. For the fabric of this skirt, I'll be using a doll face fabric. As you can see, this is an undergarment of an old dress. I'll be marking first of all half an inch, which is going to be for the allowance of the top part of the skirt. Mind you, this skirt does not have a waistband, so all your measurement starts from where that half an inch is going to be marked on, which is literally going to be like our starting point. So for fabric, you can also use duchess, you can use lycra, that's any stretchy fabric. If I can use doll face for this, I think you can use any other fabric except ashoke. So next we are going to determine the full length, which is 15 inches, and afterwards I'm going to multiply 15 by 2, which gives me a 30 inches, and that is going to be the full length of this skirt. Now for you to get more volume or a perfect volume, I would advise you multiply your full length by 3. It's going to give you a very good volume, especially if you're working with a stretchy fabric. But you can see my fabric is very limited, so we multiplied it by 2 inches and you saw the result it gave us. So underneath that, I'm going to mark 1 inch, which is going to be for the hemming allowance for the base of the skirt. Now I'm going to make a straight line across that point. Next thing, I want to mark out the hip line. So from the top part, I'm going to mark 9 inches. You can use 10 inches if you want, and that is going to be where I'll be marking my hip measurements. So I made a straight line across that point as well, and next thing we'll start marking out all our round measurements. We'll divide our round waist measurement by 4, and we are going to place it on the top part of this. Next, we'll mark our hip measurement divided by 4. Now when you mark your hip measurement, just make sure to add like 1/4 of an inch, not up to half an inch, just for ease, so that the ruch can rest well on that area considering the fabric you are working with. Then what we have on the hip measurement is what we are going to bring to the full length. Now if you are working with a very stretchy fabric, do not add sewing allowance. Just go ahead and apply your main allowance, your main round measurement divided by 4, apply it and cut it out. Do not add sewing allowance if you are using a very stretchy fabric. So now I'm going to connect all my lines together, and then I'm going to add half an inch for sewing allowance. You can add more than half an inch, but you can see my fabric is limited, so I'm using half an inch for sewing allowance. So after cutting out the front piece, next we'll go to the back piece. First of all, I'm going to mark 1.5 inch for my zipper allowance. The reason why I want my zipper allowance to be much is because if I add weight and I want to kind of increase the skirt, I will just work on it from the zip allowance side. So I want the zip allowance to be much. So now I'm just going to go ahead. You can see there's already a zip allowance showing. You can go ahead and mark 1.5 inch. Mine is a 1.5 inch. And then I'll go ahead and duplicate the front piece on the back piece. So the only difference is we have the zipper allowance on the back piece. So guys, I have both my front and back piece ready. You can see my front piece is on a fold and my back piece is on 2 separate pieces. The first thing I am going to do after I am done cutting is to hem the base. Don't forget we added 1 inch to the base, which is supposed to be for the hemming allowance. Now I'm taking it to my sewing machine to hem, and I'll be back. I'll do the same thing to the front and the back piece. Now I have hemmed the base, and you can see what it is looking like. I tried as much as possible to make sure that this work is looking clean, considering the fact that this is not the first time this fabric is being used. So after I am done doing that, the next thing I'll be doing is to join the back pieces together. I'm going to sew up the zipper allowance that we left. So first of all, before I sew the zipper allowance, I'll go ahead with my tape and mark space for zip. So I'm going to use 7 inches, 7 to 8. You can use 8 inches, you can use 9 inches. I used 8 inches, and then after I marked the 8 inches, from that point downwards, I'm going to sew that 1.5 inch that we took for the zipper allowance. I have sewn it up, and the next step I'll be doing is to cut interface for the waistband. Now remember when we were cutting this, we marked half an inch on the top part of the skirt before we started marking the main skirt measurement. Now we are going to start sewing up the half an inch by cutting an interface for it, which is going to help us to turn the waist side, and it's going to give us a more clean look. So I'm going to cut my interface to 1 inch to a 1.5 inch, so I can use 1 inch, half an inch to turn it, and then there'll be 1 inch left. So after I've marked the width of the interface, I took the front piece off of it. I'm going to take my time, and then I will start chalking down the 1.5 inch and I'll cut it out. I'll do the same thing for the back pieces as well. So I'm going to place my skirts, making sure that the right face is facing upwards, and I'm going to place the interface, making sure that the right face of the interface is touching the right face of the skirt. Now I'm going to sew out that half an inch, and when I sew it, I'm going to flip it over to the back. So I have taken it to my sewing machine and I have joined it as I said, and I flipped it over. So you can, if you like, you can use a hemming gum to hold that part down, but I didn't use, and I took my time to iron this a bit. Now I'll be placing the back piece on the front piece, making sure that the right face are touching each other. Now I'm going to go ahead and sew the side seams. I'm going to sew out the half an inch that we marked for the sewing allowance, if you remember. So at this point, if you use 2 inches, if you use 1.5 inch for your sewing allowance, make sure to take it out at this point, as I will be taking out my half an inch as well. So after I was done sewing the sewing allowance, I fixed my zipper. As you can see me cutting out the excesses. The skirt is almost ready. Now we are going to go over to the last step, which is going to be the main effect or the main point of the skirt, which is going to give us the ruch. Now I'm going to bring out my elastic band after I flipped the skirt to the wrong side. Now I'm going to remember the full length of the skirt that we wanted was 15 inches. I'm going to cut my elastic to that 15 inches. When cutting into the 15 inches, I'm not going to pull it very hard. I'm just going to take my time and cut it. Don't pull the elastic, just cut it at exactly 15 inches. When you cut it at 15 inches, cut it in two, one for the left seam and the other one for the right seam. So now I'm going to show you guys how I'll be attaching it. To that half an inch sewing allowance that is left, I'm going to sew it to the sewing allowance. So by the time I sew it up, it's all going to gather itself up. Although the weight of the skirt might pull the elastic and make it stretch while you wear it, but it's still going to give it that whole ruched look. That is why I said if you want it to have a better volume, you should divide your full length by, you should multiply your full length by 3. But since I have a limited fabric, I multiplied it by 2, and you can see what it's looking like. So now if you had added more than half an inch allowance, you can just open it up and place your elastic and sew it as seen as I'm showing in the video right now. And this is one way you can fix your elastic. So if you are sewing it like this, it's going to allow your allowance to relax more. But if you use half an inch like myself, just go ahead and sew it from the side. Now you can see what sewing it looks like. Just sew it on the allowance. Don't sew it on the line where you sew the skirt together, on the allowance. And as you are sewing, keep on pulling it. Keep on pulling it till you reach the base. So if you want, you can even reduce yours from the 15 inches which we used. And if you want, you can come down by 1 inch from the waistline before attaching it. So I'll take my time to show you guys, and then you see the result of the skirt. So after sewing it up, this is what it is going to look like. And of course, guys, this is the final result of the skirt, which you probably have seen before the start of this video. So if you turn out to like this tutorial, don't forget to give us a thumbs up, and if you've not subscribed, please go back and subscribe. Now I'll be uploading the tutorial for the top soon, so watch out. Click on the notification bell so you get notified every time I post a new video, and don't forget to share our videos, because this has helped YouTube recommend our channel to other people as well. So without any further ado, see you in our next tutorial. Bye.